Welcome, everybody. This is Juan Lee. It's Life with Oliver and Marcelle, and we are back again. And we're going to pick it up. How you doing today?
I'm good, man. I'm good. This is gonna be a good one because I believe that this is uh, right in line, a continuation, if you will, of our last conversation. So
Yeah.
this is a good one.
Last episode we were talking about the things that prevent us from being successful, and today we're going to follow that up with, what does it take to set some goals, to maintain those goals? You know, I think that's a very important part of being able to be successful. Is
Yeah,
that it's that what you would say, being able to set a course and then follow the course.
right.
That goal, those goals, and we were talking about last time as it relates to those accomplishments, those successes throughout that journey, that course,
Hmm.
that we can see as things that we've learned, and that goal setting is one of the ways that we measure those.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's there. I guess there's a few ways you can go about it, right? So you can just navigate your way through life as a participant. And as these successes come your way, then you categorize them, you take lessons, you learn from them. It's another way to just chart your course, right? So, like, great example, my wife and I, we love to go on drives, right? And so sometimes we'll get in the car, we'll hop in the car and be like, you know what, we're just going to go north for an hour. And then we'll come back a different scenic route, come back, right? And so during that time, we don't know necessarily what's going to happen as we navigate, but we run across, oh man, I didn't know that there's this apple orchard here. Let's check it out. Or there's this, man, let's look at this beautiful home. So you see these different things that you're able to celebrate along the way. That's one way to do it. Another way would be for us to sit down here before we leave and say, here's where we want to go. Here's what we want to see along the way. Here are the checkpoints that we want, or the things we want to make sure we check off the list as we drive that hour. And I think that's where the goal setting falls into that, to that example. And I think that's a way to ensure, in air quotes,
Mm-hmm.
that you navigate the journey in a way that is uh, 100% aligned with what you have identified as your purpose. So it's important to have some goals.
Yeah, and you really begin to, in that process of setting those goals, you then have to understand what it is, how to get there,
Right.
how to get there. Okay, you don't set a goal for north and start going south. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? And the thing about it is that, so that's one of those things that we really have to understand, that preparation
Mm-hmm.
dictates the types of goals that you can set, and be that are accomplishable, those things that you can accomplish. Okay, you know, we have a tendency to want to set a goal that not been prepared for,
Yeah.
and that's just as devastating as not preparing or not having a goal,
Mm-hmm.
is to get something in your mind that you want to do, and then you don't have what it takes to accomplish it.
Right.
So under that, the thing that the foundation of these goals is preparation. It's
That's good.
preparation.
Got to prepare.
Yeah. So let's talk about, let's go back to using our building a house.
Mm-hmm.
We know what it takes to build a house, but then you got to get the resources. You got to get those resources, those,
Mm-hmm.
the lumber yard has the lumber. You just don't have, you don't get a house built without no lumber.
Right.
And so you can know that you need it, but if you don't know where to go to get that lumber, That's, to build a house without getting lumber is that's the goal that you can't accomplish.
Mm-hmm.
And so these are the types of things that I'm talking about. Understand what it takes. Boy, this reminds me of another conversation that I think we're going to have. Oh boy. As it relates to knowing what it takes to reach a particular goal.
Mm-hmm.
Man, should I bring this up now?
Why not?
Okay, no, I'm gonna leave because it really goes towards something we're going to talk about in a future episodes, and it's about relationships, having to do with relationships and how you prepare for relationships. The goal is the relationship, but the preparation for the relationship is essential.
It is.
So that relationship is what you want it to be. So, but
the
yeah,
preparation
that
piece is paramount. It is, because it's
in
what you do for
everything.
anything, right? You do that. You do that for any goal, even if you don't think it's a goal. So, like, here's an example of that. For those who work in the corporate space and they go into the office every day, right? The goal is for you to arrive to the office and have some level of productive day. What do you do ahead of that? You might pack your lunch, or you might get your laptop or your paperwork, or make sure you got everything in the bag that you need, or whatever it is. You might have to coordinate dropping the kids at school if you have that, right? So there's some level of preparation that's necessary for you to accomplish the goal of getting to the office and having some level of productive day. You have to do that as you navigate life as well. And
Yeah.
now, there are a lot of us that are out there winging it. Let's be clear. And you might even have the guy who says, hey, well, listen, I haven't been preparing. I've been winging it and I'm doing great. And you might be doing great, but you're not the majority. Let's be clear about that. And not only are you not the majority, but I'm willing to bet that at some point in your life, you can point back to something that you wish had gone differently. Even if it turned out right, you wish it had gone differently, and it would have gone differently had you prepared.
And that's where ultimately I think anybody out there winging it, life is something that is it compounds.
Mm-hmm.
Compounds. And one of the things that we're going to talk about in a future episode, it's called balance. Being balanced.
Mm-hmm.
And what happens is if you winging it, something's probably suffering. Something else is suffering.
Mm-hmm.
There's parts of your life that's suffering because we're not balanced.
Yeah.
And when you're winging it, you normally have a tendency to put all of your energy into that thing that you're winging, and you're off balance. So when life then swings at you and you're off balance, you're basically going to take a fall.
Yeah.
In one area of your life or another, you're going to
right.
take a fall.
And even if it doesn't feel like a fall, right? Because even if you're winging it and you're enjoying what's happening, you're still not living to your intended or even fullest potential, right? There's a quote by Lawrence Peter that says, if you don't know where you're going, you will end up somewhere else.
Absolutely.
Right. So yeah,
absolutely.
And you may like where you may be like, oh, this is a nice place, but is it where you were supposed to be?
Yeah. And man, you just throwing all these examples of the relationship thing. Relationship, okay, I'm going to use it. Okay. Here's the thing about winging it. When you're winging it, in one area of your life. And that's clear. Let's be clear. When you're winging it, you're putting a lot of energy in.
Mm-hmm.
When you're winging it, you're putting a lot of energy in it. And it's like what we call grinding. You're grinding.
Because it's guesswork.
And what you're saying is that here, what I'm saying is being bound at what cost?
Mm-hmm.
At what cost are you grinding? Are you winging it?
Mm-hmm.
Because here's the point. It's okay to grind and wing it if there ain't nobody else in the picture but you.
Good point.
Ain't nobody in the picture but you. You can grind as much as you want and wing as much as you want. Bring another dynamic into it. Put a relationship in there.
In any relationship, doesn't matter what it is.
Any.
Be accountable for somebody else.
Any relationship.
Yeah.
Okay.
That changes the game.
And still think that you're gonna be able to wing it and grind. Something gonna suffer. They got divorce courses. They got divorce court because of them. Because they keep on grinding and basically what you're identifying is something that we've talked about in the past, and is how did you prepare to the point where you can begin to add on layers and still be able to maintain something that we talked about earlier. I said things that I can't maintain, I get rid of.
Yeah.
Because it's going to begin to suffer.
Mm-hmm.
Because I can't put the same kind of emphasis on it that needs to be put on it because I don't have the energy or the time. I keep myself back. See, if we don't understand the value of balance, we'll wing it, and life begins to build up and compound, and you winging it in one area and these other areas are falling aside.
Mm-hmm.
And so you've got to be able to understand in life that winging it is not the answer. It might have a temporary victory in it, but it's sort of like, it's like growth. I mean, it's like being in something that you're unprepared for. You're in a situation and you're not prepared for it. As it begins to pile on, you begin to sink, and you begin to find yourself just trying to hold on.
Mm-hmm.
And it's piling up on you. And you don't have what it takes, but you're not willing to say that I'm prepared and hold on. I need to back down and say, okay, I need to reevaluate.
Right.
It's just like, again, we don't want to be able to stop and say, okay, maybe this ain't for me. Mm-hmm. And we'll keep on living a lie because we don't want to admit the fact that this is too much.
Yep. Because what you talked about, right? You said there's a lot of energy involved in doing that. And then once you've expended all that energy, now you're invested. So some folk, they realize, wait a minute, this is not where I really want to be or where I should be, but I've already invested all of this. So I got to see it through.
I'm going to tell you, sometimes it's always like the old song Kenny Rogers used to talk about, time to hold them and time to fold them. I mean, and where do you decide to fold them is, I get it. You're invested. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But is the long term better for you to say, all right, let's stop. Mm-hmm. I see I'm struggling. I see I'm just barely trying to keep my head above water, mm-hmm. and my other areas of my life is suffering. And then don't put in their children. Don't put in their parents. Mm-hmm. Don't put in there the neighborhood. All of these other things that need your attention, and mm-hmm. and you got so much of it tied up into this winging it that you don't have anything left to do put towards those other things. And then we wonder why those other parts of our lives are suffering.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's good. And so the goal thing, right? And it's not to say, for those of you who feel like you're in this season where you're winging it, we're not like hitting you on the head with a sledgehammer. But I think the thing that we're essentially saying is that the beauty of goal setting is that it allows you to craft a blueprint and chart a course. It also allows you to designate where the checkpoints are. Because it's one thing to me be placed into, to use the analogy we used in the previous conversation, it's one thing for me to be placed in a video game that was designed by somebody else and then navigate that. It's another thing for me to actually create the video game where I've put in the checkpoints and I've put in what, happens and what should take place at this particular stage and what tools should be are necessary for this particular stage. That's what goal setting does. So it allows you to kind of get a 50,000 foot view of what the journey might look like, and then gives you some things to move towards. It gives you some things that you can look towards and say, hey, okay. And I was just talking to another group not recently about the whole goal setting piece. And just like what we were talking about with success in the last conversation, we sometimes have this pie in the sky thing. And because of that, we miss out on other things, right? So you can have a major goal. Let's say you have a major goal. I want to write a book this year. That's a major goal, right? Now, that goal now needs to be broken up into checkpoints so that you can see a piece of the journey and what it will look like. So if you say, okay, I want to write a book, that's the goal, but you don't ever do anything after that, that's going to get overwhelming because there's certain aspects of that. And you as a writer, right? We've both written books, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's a lofty goal. But if you take that now and you put checkpoints, all right, I want to have first chapter written in the next 35 days. Now you have something, you have a micro success, if you will, that it's not the goal. So in 30 days, you haven't finished the book, but you have lived a successful life in that you've accomplished that piece, that checkpoint of the goal. So there's some nuances to it as well, that you have to be prepared for. But I think that's the beauty of setting goals.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. It's knowing that you need to put the checkpoints, as you said, in place so that you reach those goals. And it all goes to motivation and prioritizing. It gets deeply into that thing, because in this thing called life, you'll set a goal and everything you seem to think is going to come against that ability to be able to set that goal. I mean, to reach that goal. And so then there comes that prioritizing and being able to put things in place to say, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm got to do this. I give you an example. My schedule recently has been adjusted a little bit, because normally I exercise in the evening.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm finding myself not to be as productive, or my exercise doesn't get done because my day gets drawn off and I don't get to do it. So I'm in the process of now saying, I got to get up in the morning and I got to get my workout done in the morning. Either I'm going to do it at home or I'm going to the gym, but I got to get it done in the morning, because I can't allow things to get in the way from me not getting it done. So that's what I'm saying. So in many cases, you might have to adjust. You might have to do some adjustments so that you can get you can accomplish that goal, but you don't stay stuck. And I think it was something that you said earlier in an earlier episode, where you said, as you stay focused, be flexible.
Mm-hmm.
You got to be flexible to say, okay, does that mean I need to adjust some things a little bit? And if that's the case, be willing to be flexible so that you can reach your goals.
Right. Yeah, that's important. I love it, because and it's, I think we have to, just like in the definition of success, we have to look at also the definition of goals, right? And really being really being cognizant of how you're crafting these goals and what's the motivation behind these goals and what are the parameters that you're using to set these goals, right? So am I looking at Juan Lee, the author, and looking at all the stuff he's accomplished and now saying I want to do that as well, not necessarily taking into consideration that Juan's path may not necessarily be mine, and the experiences that led up to the big goal that I see Juan has accomplished, I don't know anything about, right? So they really have to be tailored to it, going right back to everything. We've said this in several conversations. You have to understand who you are. You got to take some time, understand who you are, identify what what is your impact on humanity? What's the role you play? And then craft goals that actually set you up for success. Not goals that are a mirror of what you see some other folk. Oh, I want to do that because they did that. And that might be okay, but does it align to who you are? That North Star, like you say, right? Does it align with who you are? Because if it aligns with who you are, there is a greater chance that you will be motivated to meet these checkpoints because you see a clear and significant alignment between who you are and the goal you set.
That is, hey, that understanding is where we ultimately trying to get everybody to realize is that we all are significant. We all have a purpose. We are unique. We have a significant role to play in this experience, but it's for us to be able to identify it first and foremost. It's essential. And that's again, goes right back into my book, Love Made Simple. It's when you understand the value that you hold in this experience, and you know that you're important, you're necessary, and what you have is sufficient. When you begin to know that about yourself, then you can begin to view this thing. You take on a totally different perspective of this thing called life.
Mm-hmm.
You take a whole different perspective. And so when you go there, then you begin to align this experience up with your values, who you are. Mm-hmm. And then you begin to navigate it based on those things, things that you know about yourself. Then you begin to be significant. You begin to identify, show up in a way that makes a difference. Mm-hmm. And it's about understanding that difference that there is that you can make is what you sow into humanity. We're looking for it. We need what you have, but you've got to be able to find it so that you can give it.
Yeah.
That's the message of Clear Journey. That's the message of life. It's about what it is that we can present, we can give. It's about giving. It's about presenting ourselves. And so if it's nothing else in that goal setting process, and we biting off piece by piece, a little bit at a time, but ultimately it's the bigger pictures to understand who we are and then navigating it.
Yep. And set up some things that align with how you navigate it. Because here's what you'll find, and I can attest to this. Here's what you'll find. Once you realize and recognize and identify those things about yourself and within yourself, and what your gift is, what your purpose for, whether it be for this particular season or long term, and you begin to set up goals that align with that, and you set yourself up for success, you will. I always tell people that you manufacture motivation in certain ways. One, when you identify who you are and you're confident in that, and you begin to align goals that set you up for success, as you meet those checkpoints, first of all, there's some level of consistency. You talked about preparation, right? If I put another P word in there, the other P word along with preparation that would allow you to live a successful life is persistence. So you're preparing, you've done the work, you identify who you are, you're preparing by setting up these goals, and you're preparing for how these goals are going to be accomplished. You're preparing for how you're going to meet the checkpoints. Then you're persistent in walking through the journey that allows you to meet the checkpoints. As you meet the checkpoints, that persistence is now, that persistence manufactures motivation. That motivation fuels consistency. That consistency brings results. And it's just a continual cycle. The results have a positive effect on you, which now causes you to continue to be persistent. And we've started all over again. And you hit every checkpoint with that cycle.
And it's clear. It's clear. That cycle that you just shared with us, it's clear. Then all you do is repeat it. You just repeat it. You just repeat it over and over again. And this goes into something else that we talk about and that we're going to probably talk about in the future. And that goes into your routine. Mm-hmm. It becomes your routine. And you will not believe how significant and how important a routine is. Mm-hmm. A routine will help you mentally, physically, and emotionally to be able to navigate life. Yeah. And financially. Financially, it would even help you financially. I know we into something I already thought about, but they don't go there. But a routine, I can't speak enough about a routine. Mm-hmm. These are all of the things that we need to be mindful of because they have long-term value. Long-term value. Yeah. And the thing about it is, and it's a good or bad. Good or bad. And when I'm saying by doing the things that you just talked about, it allows that you get to determine what that long-term value will be, and it's beneficial.
Right. Yep. I love it. I think
it's just like that. Okay.
Like that. I was just about to say that's a great place to land the plane because it's, and I know for those of you who are listening, I know this gives you something to think about as you navigate, because you said it I think it was in the last conversation. You said that how did you put it? You said we're the author and finisher of how we navigate this, right? Mm-hmm. And this goal setting piece puts, and we love this word as human beings. We love to have control. So I'm using this word very loosely, but the goal setting piece allows you now to have some level of control over at least what the blueprint looks like. Because there's some aspects of it, obviously we're not mind readers. We can't see into the future. So there's some aspects of this we can't chart for, but we can prepare for based on the blueprint that we put together, which is goal setting.
Yeah. And all we do then is use that to navigate. We use that blueprint to navigate because life is going to be unpredictable, what it's going to present with it. But then, then how we navigate it is based on our preparation and the options that we've got prepared for us so that when these unprepared things come, again, you don't know how deep what we're getting into because these are the basis of this experience, and that control that you're talking about is being able to not be presented with a challenge that you don't have options.
Right.
Right. The less options we have, the less results, the worse the results are they're going to be. Mm-hmm. All we doing is putting ourselves in the best position so that when situations come that we had not been planning for, we have options.
Right.
Many of us don't have any. When it comes, it just wipes us over.
Right. Right. Which is a very real byproduct of winging it.
It is what it is. It is what it is. Hey, Oliver, let them know where they can reach you at.
Listen, you guys can connect with me everywhere on social media. Denali, DENOLI LLC, at Denali LLC, everywhere on social media. You can email me. It's simply my first name, Oliver, OLIVER, at denali.org. Author, speaker, coach in the marriage enrichment space and men's empowerment space, author of the book, Overcoming the Man Loss, for the man who wants to be his best despite what he was taught. Connect with me. Let's get together. Let's have a conversation. I would love to hear your story because, listen, it's my goal to, like it says on my t-shirt right now, for those of you who can see the video, 2020 before hindsight, to help at least one person gain some level of clarity before they have to endure some of the pitfalls of not goal setting on the back end.
All righty. Okay, and I'm Juan Lee. I'm the founder and executive director of Clear Journey, also a life consultant, also an author and a thought leader in the power of love, dealing with the attitudes for success. Reach out to me. You can go onto the website, clearjourney.org, and schedule a consultation. We're here to help. That's what we do. We're here to help. And so until next time, hey, it's life, but we can navigate it if we prepare and we have the tools to do it. See you next time.
Later.